An overzealous HOA president named Brenda Carmichael dialed 911 in a rage after a stubborn homeowner flat-out refused to join her self-proclaimed exclusive Lake Serenity Homeowners Association and pay the escalating fees she was demanding. She screamed into the phone about trespassing, harassment, and violations of community standards, fully convinced that local law enforcement would back her up and force compliance. What she never imagined, what would soon unravel her entire scheme, was that the man she was trying so desperately to have arrested was actually her landlord. Not just any landlord. Through a family trust he had quietly inherited, he owned the very land her $800,000 McMansion sat on, along with controlling interest in several other properties around the lake, effectively making him the unseen owner behind much of what she claimed to rule. The confrontation started innocently enough on a peaceful Minnesota morning. Marcus, a retired military veteran who had inherited his grandfather's modest 1960s A-frame cabin after years of service and a tough divorce, was enjoying his ritual coffee on the dock, surrounded by the scent of pine needles, morning mist, and the haunting calls of loons across the mirror-still water. The lake community had always been small and neighborly. 47 properties along 8 miles of shoreline, a mix of blue-collar locals and summer visitors who live by simple rules. Wave when you pass, help when needed, and otherwise mind your own business. For 2 blissful years after moving in, that's exactly how life stayed until Brenda arrived. She bought the biggest, most out-of-place house on the lake, a flashy suburban-style mansion that looked dropped into the woods by mistake. Within days, she was cruising the shoreline on her overpowered pontoon boat in blinding white capris and bright cardigans, introducing herself with artificial sweetness and a folder of official HOA documents. She announced updated aesthetic standards, declared Marcus's rustic aluminum fishing boat and grandfather's hand-carved rod holders non-compliant, and threatened fines for anything that might decline property values. When he calmly pointed out there was no HOA on his deed and no authority over his family land, her mask slipped. She sped off in a wake of gasoline fumes and threats, vowing he'd regret it. Soon after, violation notices appeared taped to his door, elaborate fakes with red-letter warnings, fake seals, and demands for $500 in fines. Most people might have panicked and paid up, but Marcus's military logistics background kicked in. He headed to the county courthouse basement, befriended the longtime clerk Dolores, and dug into records. The so-called Lake Serenity HOA had been incorporated only 18 months earlier with just 12 members out of 47 properties, legally powerless over non-members like him. Worse, Brenda had been quietly transferring lakefront properties into her own LLCs and running an unlicensed vacation rental empire, turning quiet family cabins into party spots for city tourists while lecturing everyone else about standards. He posted a simple question on local Facebook groups, asking if others had received similar notices. The responses flooded in privately. Elderly widows threatened over bird feeders, families fined for mailbox colors, unpaid bills to local businesses, bounced checks, and late-night disturbances at her rentals. A group chat formed, the Lake Serenity Truth Squad, with Janet the retired librarian meticulously documenting everything in a binder, Marina owner Tom sharing photos, and 90-year-old Florence offering sharp observations. Brenda escalated. False police reports, attempted bribes to code enforcement officers, including a $100 consulting fee caught on record, harassment visits, and even sabotage. Cameras caught her handyman removing the drain plug from Marcus's boat at 2 a.m., causing thousands in damage. Each incident built the case. Deputy Rodriguez quietly confirmed they were watching her pattern of false reports and thin-line behavior. Then came the bombshell. Marcus's grandfather's old lawyer, Arthur, reviewed estate papers and revealed the Northwoods Property Trust for 1987 gave Marcus controlling interest in 4 lakefront properties, including Brenda's mansion. She had been paying rent indirectly through a management company for 3 years, money landing in an account Marcus never knew existed. Her lease banned unlicensed businesses, disturbances to neighbors, and required peaceful enjoyment, terms she'd violated repeatedly while harassing her own landlord and falling behind on payments. Arthur advised documenting everything, offering mediation, and exhausting reasonable options before eviction. But Brenda doubled down. More bribery attempts, caught on wire by zoning inspector Carl, and reported to the DA, public meltdowns at the grocery store and boat launch, and a desperate push at a town council meeting. That's where Marcus finally revealed the truth on the big screen. Deeds, lease violations, footage of sabotage, recordings of bribes. The gymnasium erupted in applause and laughter as he served the 30-day eviction notice live. Brenda's face cycled through shock and denial. Her lawyer's damage control fell flat amid shouts of "good faith, my ass" from Florence. Brenda fled within 2 weeks in a U-Haul to Florida, leaving damage and a plea deal for probation plus community service. The fake HOA collapsed. Residents formed a genuine advisory committee focused on real conservation, mediation, and scholarships funded partly from Marcus's surprise rental income. The lake returned to peace. Loons calling, pines scented air, neighbors helping neighbors, stronger and united against bullies. This wild tale of entitlement meeting poetic justice comes from the world of HOA Stories, where we spin fictionalized narratives inspired by real-life themes of neighborhood drama, petty power trips, and satisfying comeuppances. Pure entertainment, no real people or events depicted. Any similarities are coincidental. New videos drop daily with fresh conflicts, sharp twists, and that glorious moment when the tyrant gets humbled. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join the community that loves turning bad rules into stories worth watching. Because sometimes the perfect revenge is just discovering you've held the winning hand all along.